or the grid of people with their faces, and if I'm right clicking on that, I have an option to give permission to record. And right now, Mal and Jean are recording, so that's where you get the recording from.
Yep.
Okay, so back to what I was trying to do here. So everyone should have the locations next to the name. Once we move into more of a conversation, collaboration type, it would be useful to have gallery view enabled for your own screens, because that way you'll be able to see more faces of the 76, 90 people at the moment, and you'll be able to interact so much better. And if you haven't had a chance to say hello, Zoom is your friend and Zoom chat is your friend. We will be using chat a lot today to interact with each other, to respond to some of the questions I will be giving you. Another thing that I want to show today, and kind of introduce you to different tools that you may be using when you're working with your audience. That is a tool that's called Mentimeter. And for that, I am asking you to go to the site called menti.com. And once you're there, you need to enter the code 288101.
What's the code again?
It's in the chat. Okay, and once you're there, the first question you will get is the question where you're joining us from. I'm going to reshare my screen so you can see all the responses.
Dana, the code isn't showing up in the chat.
It's 288101.
288101.
Dana, actually, you sent it to me privately, so if you send it to everybody, they're saying.
Yes, that's I figured it out. Yeah, thank you. So that's another thing. In the chat, you have an option to send message to everyone, or if someone messaged you earlier, you are responding, it will automatically respond to just one person. So some other things to keep in mind. So great to see everybody joining. It looks like we have most of the people coming from New York or NYC, but we also have tons of people from other locations. That's always exciting. Thank you. And your next question is going to be this. What is your biggest challenge with remote facilitation?
And Dana, so the different look and feel that's appearing now, it's by design. It's just to be more eye appealing, right? So the previous screen, the previous cluster was by design like a cluster. This is more structured like different blocks, right?
Yeah, so on the tool itself, the Mentimeter, it allows you to create different types of polls, because this is what it is, right? It's engaging with the audience, it's polling the audience for answer to specific questions. And you can design things like what you're seeing right now, which is called the bubble responses, or you can have a word cloud, which is what we've seen before.
Yeah, I like this one. I see a lot of companies do it like this is our credo. And
Yeah, and that's a good way to start the conversation, start a training or webinar. Again, this is to engage people, to let them express where they're coming from, answer some questions, also to get a little bit of insights into maybe experience of people. So again, this is something you can design upfront as a facilitator, as the
is,
who's running the meetup.
is there any programmatic logic how it clusters together, like New York, New York, New York City, and why? Does it recognize it, or is it totally random?
It's basically if more people said NYC, that will appear larger. If
Oh, I see. So there's logic to it. It reads.
yes, absolutely. The larger it becomes on the screen, it means the more people are joining from that location. And as you can see, it doesn't differentiate between, I mean, it doesn't make a connection between NYC, New York, or NY.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's a downside, but still, it gives you that perspective as to how many people are joining from different locations. I'm interested to see that Prague and Toronto are trending.
I want to have this slide later on because I need to see, I would like to see how many people have joined from different locations this meetup.
Yeah.
This is the good data for me.
Yeah, of course. And it's same for whenever anyone is running as a facilitator, running this kind of session, it's good to have this type of information because it's anonymous. You can ask all sorts of questions. It's helping people with being able to respond to those questions, knowing that there is no name or email associated with that. It's anonymous question.
Got it.
Okay, cool. So moving right along. And the next thing that I'm going to switch us to is our actual presentation. And just very briefly, my own introduction. So I'm an Agile and DevOps coach from New York. I've been working with distributed teams for probably most of my career because my very first employer had locations across United States and UK. Then I used to work with Rakuten, which is a Japanese company, which means that we had people joining from Japan, from West Coast, from East Coast. So there's lots of interesting conversation, time zones, and interesting challenges. So I know for some of you jumping into the virtual facilitation and virtual collaboration is new because of the coronavirus. This is something that I've been doing for years, and I'm excited to see new tools coming into the space. So definitely interested to experiment with them as well. Which brings me to what is this virtual collaboration and facilitation lab? What we'd like it to be, and that's why we need your help as well, is we'd like it to be very interactive and experiential. So it's not designed to be a webinar. It's not designed to be a lecture. It's designed to be an experimental space. So we're going to share some of the tools we experimenting with. We want to hear from you what you're experimenting with, and we're also going to walk you through some of those experiments during this session. So that's the idea, which means that for today, we're going to be using Zoom, Miro, a little bit of Google Slides, a little bit of Liberating Structures. In the future, we may bring some other tools, and some of the tools that I've used in the past and found useful, Feature Map, Mural, and Trello. So I share those, and I continue experimenting with other ones as I'm discovering more in this space. And just one thing to mention, no affiliation with any of those tools. I'm just experimenting, looking what's useful. And one of the criteria for me is what is low cost, what doesn't require expensive license, what can be experimented with without large investment on anyone's part. And with that, it means we will fail, and we will fail together. That's what lab is for. It's where things blow up, but then that's where we discover things together. So that's, just wanted to make sure that everyone understands what you guys are signing up for. It's an experiment. Okay, so with that, the next thing I want to ask you is in Zoom, think about what are some of the tools, some of the techniques that we started this with, and what have we started with to help engage you, or most of you? And if you can type in chat some of the things that you've seen. just go ahead, type in the chat. So what we have started with to help engage the audience. Okay. Yep. Yep, very cool, very cool. So yes, we used all those things: adding location, turning on the video, asking people to get into gallery view, Mentimeter call, chat, and there are many other things that we can do using these tools. And some of the other things that are there is this thing I'm going to run right now, which is I'm going to use a poll. And this is another feature that's available in Zoom. I'm going to launch the poll right now. So you're going to get this little box coming from the Zoom asking you to respond. How much do you know already about Zoom? It's just right now we have 99 people. And I'm getting close to 63% respondent. So, and I'm going to share these results as soon as I get close to like 80%. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll and share results. So that's another way how you can engage your participants and show them the distribution, right? Because right now, that information that I gathered in less than a minute gives you a visibility into, hey, most of the people that are calling in today, they know basic features. Some have used breakout rooms, which is good information for me because I am going to take you through breakout rooms. And let's say if I had that as a result of this response, 80% of people know breakout rooms. I wouldn't spend much time describing them, but because it's a small number of people who used them before, I'm going to tailor my presentation to make sure that I cover more details around breakout room sessions. So again, it's a good information for me as a presenter. It's good information for you as people in the room to see who is in the call. And I like that, 2% of people said I can run this lab. You know what? Everyone can run this lab because we're experimenting. So from that standpoint, every one of you can run it because we're going to experiment and learn together. And one of the reasons why we use a lot of those techniques at the beginning of the session, because we really want to do something that's very difficult to do in person, but even more difficult to do in the virtual space, which is enable psychological safety in the room. And I'm going to mute everyone for now. Okay. And the reason why we care about psychological safety, I think everyone knows about that, because we want to solve problems. And if we want to solve problems together, we want to collaborate together, we need to create that space where people can actually feel open and safe about sharing and collaborating. It's interesting that some of the tools right now actually have features built in to remind people about that safety check. And the screenshot I'm sharing is actually from the tool called Fun Retrospectives. As one of the steps preparing for retrospective, they bring up this poll and they're asking participants to rate how safe they feel about speaking up on this upcoming session. So that's another cool way to check on that. To me, one of the tools that are very helpful with facilitation in the virtual space as well as in the physical space, but specifically in the virtual space, and the ones that are designed to create a psychological safety in the group, is something that's called liberating structures. So liberating structures are collection of different facilitation techniques. Each of them has a much deeper and much more complex version. But this collection gives you a way to facilitate a simplified version of each and every one of those tools in a way that it's accessible to many without like very extensive facilitation background, but also that you get the benefit of using a specific tool without a long training or complicated instructions. So what we're going to do today, we're actually going to try one of the basic liberating structures. And this is the one that's called 1, 2, 4, all. The reason why I want to show it today, because this is the one that will give us an opportunity to experience two things at the same time, actually three things at the same time. One, we're going to experience how this liberating structure works, how you can help take, right now we have 100 people, and how you can enable collaboration in a group of this size. Because in typical webinar, and thank you, Mal. I like those cards. I haven't printed them maybe yet. So in the group of this size, it's really hard to actually have everyone interact with everyone unless you have a specific facilitation technique to enable that. And liberating structure, specifically this 1, 2, 4, all, is very good for enabling that collaboration. So that's thing number one. Number two, we're actually going to experience how is it to be in the breakout room. Because in order to facilitate this liberating structure, I'm going to ask you to do something individually. Then I'm going to put you into breakout rooms where you end up with one more person. And that would be a totally random person, because I will be using breakout rooms feature in Zoom that allows me to put people together automatically. It allows me to create rooms based on the number of participants that I want to see in the room, and then just send everyone out just to be in those rooms. And what that means, it means that you will end up in a different space. In that space, you will see one more person and yourself, and that's all. I won't be there, no one else will be there. So it will be your private space where the two of you can have a conversation. As a facilitator staying in the main room, I will be able to push messages to you, reminding that you need to come back, or giving you questions or giving you prompts, but I will not be able to hear your conversation unless I join your room. And you will see me, I may pop in into a couple of rooms just to check in. You will see when I'm coming in. So again, there is that opportunity for you to ask questions if you need to, or have a private conversation in that breakout room. After the time is up for the two people conversation, the next step will be, I will move you into 4 people groups, which means that you will take a partner and you would virtually move with your partner into another 2 people's group. And you'll end up into 4 people room, and we'll have a conversation with 4 people. And then after that, we will come back. So that's the experience that is going to happen for you. Now, what are you doing in these rooms, right? You're going to respond to a specific question, or what we call liberating structures invitation. And this is just to give you kind of visual of what I was describing. So it's 1 minute to respond to invitation individually, then 2 minutes in pairs, 4 minutes in 4 people group. And I will also have a link to Google Slides in case you wanted to capture some of the ideas, and we can share those ideas afterwards. And then we'll be able to review everything that was harvested in those individual 4 people group, and make sense out of it together as a group. Little visual, and this is your invitation. The invitation is, what is your today's challenge with virtual collaboration? So that would be a question you'll think about when I give you a signal, and after a minute, I will start moving you into 2 people's group. Any questions so far? Anything that's unclear? Give me a signal on chat. Okay, Bernie is raising questions. I'm going to unmute everybody. How about that? Birdie, you had your question.
What we're going to enter into the deck, is it going to be a shared Google Deck that you're going to post it to, or are we creating something and then trying to bring it all together?
Thank you. It will be a Google Doc. There is a link for that, which I'm going to share. And just to show you, once you're in the doc, you're going to see a slide like this. So, I'm going to mute it.
Моей теме, фасилитация там.
Okay, that's why I had them muted, so I'm muting again.
Давай обсудим это позже.
Okay. And once you're in the deck, and I will post this link in the chat. And I will not forget to send it to everyone. Okay. Once you're in that deck, and you will use that deck when you are already in the 4 people's group, you will have this slide, which just says once you for all harvest, add names of people in your quartet, and then keywords, phrases, ideas, or questions that you're still holding. So what I'd like you to do is to actually click on that link, on that slide, and say duplicate slide. And what that will do is create another slide, because you will end up in, let's see, so we have 90 people. And so you'll end up with approximately 25 groups. And so if you all start adding your ideas in one slide, it's going to become a mess, which is okay. We're here to experience that as well. But ideally, what we'd like to see is 25 different slides with names of people in your 4 people groups and some of the ideas, phrases that will come up from your 4 people conversation. Okay, but we'll get to that later. Thanks for asking that question. We'll get to that later. Where I would like you to start from is this. I am going to give you a minute. And in that minute, what I'm asking you to do is to write down a few challenges that you experienced today with virtual collaboration or facilitation in your group. So go ahead and start thinking and writing down those challenges.
Dana, are we supposed to be dropping them into the chat room?
No, you're supposed to just write them down on a piece of paper or anything else. You're just writing them for yourself for now. Okay, now I am going to enable the breakout rooms. So right now we have uneven number of people, which means that one of the groups will have 3 people. So now it may happen that even though that we have people sign in into this Zoom, it might be possible that some of them are actually not present. So they may step out from this session even though they're logged in. And so what that will lead to is that when you're in the breakout room, you may find yourself just being by yourself. I don't want that to happen, but the only way for me to know is when you come back to the main room. When you're in the breakout room, there will be an opportunity for you. There's a button on the bottom where you can come back to the main room. So if you find yourself being the only person in the room, please come back so I can reassign you to a different room. Okay? And with that, looks like, so Mal, you looks like the person that we're going to end up with 2 other people in the room. Everyone else should have just 1 other person. So your goal in the 2 people's conversation is share what you came up with and agree on the 2 most pressing challenges that are worth solving as a group. I'm going to post that in the chat. So you have that information as well in the chat. And I'm going to open all rooms. And I will see you. Well, actually, I won't see you for a bit. So I'm going to send you another reminder after 2 minutes. And then I'm going to start moving you to 4 people groups. Okay? So after 2 minutes, you're going to get a reminder to come back to the main room. And then I'll start moving to 4 people groups after that. Okay? Ready, set. I'm opening all rooms. See you in a bit.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Gene. How are you?
Good, good. Good to see you. So we are the team of 2, right? So
So you do this a lot, right? So tell me a little bit about what you see some of the biggest hurdles. Most of my interactions are face to face right now. So,
still, even today, even now.
no, well, there's 0 today.
Okay. Well, I mean, mine are also, I try to minimize as much as I can virtual, virtual work. Mostly it's face to face. However, this is inevitable at the moment. So my biggest challenge actually at the moment is, and by the way, I'm selfishly interested in hearing your thoughts because this is my meetup and this is my
Sure.
my event. So I would like to know what you think about the event as well, by the way. But my biggest challenge is, ironically, it's a large scale Scrum meetup, and we say less is more. To me, the biggest challenge is people are immediately get intoxicated with, oh wow, we have to go virtual, so let's everyone their mother is jumping on everything under the sun, and then you see people trying to juggle between 5, 6 different tools that are very not even complementary, they're actually redundant. So
yeah, like putting Miro and Mural up together. I mean, they do the same thing pretty much.
Pretty much, you can, if you really want to stretch it, you can use a yeah, well, I guess you need the board, but you can collaborate. Like you can open up Microsoft Paint and draw it together. You can do things that you can use, like rudimentary stuff.
Yeah.
So people
Sometimes, a lot of times, simpler is better.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's my biggest challenge, right?
So I work in the construction industry. I was a project manager for about 20 years, and I opened my own consulting firm a year ago. And I'm a lean construction consultant. I don't know if you know what that means, but
I know what lean is. What construction means, I'm not sure what lean.
So we have some specialized tools that we've built for construction. The Last Planner system is probably the most well known of those. It's just a system to build a production system is all it is. I mean, everything is systems anyway, right? So, but for me, I think, because the construction industry is so tech averse and so slow to adopt things, we're really far behind things. It's just getting people not to prejudge and to be open to this. I think liberating structures, which is really how I came to all this, learned about liberating structures last August and immediately saw how they could impact, what I'm doing and started using them immediately. And now I want to learn more about how to use them, virtually. And I'm seeing a lot, and I'm getting some great ideas. I've got to figure it out. I want to create a sort of a bubble storm. So I like doing trizz with my teams right at the beginning to sort of help them focus on the behaviors that are going to help them have a good meeting, whatever.
You're going to get kicked out, right? In about a second?
Yeah. All right, so challenge number 1, Igor and I didn't finish.
And that's expected. So we run into
Same here.
Yes. So what you'll find with the 1, 2, 4 or any other liberating structures, you have a limited time for your conversation, and even if you don't finish, that's okay. That's the way how it's structured. So then you're going to build on with the 4 people group. Now that's one challenge we had. The other challenge we had is that some people went into breakout rooms, but they didn't find a partner in those rooms.
Yeah.
And yes, and there were, I think, at least 10 or 15 people that came back to the rooms, to the main room, right? Around that number. So how I'm going to try to mitigate it is by asking every one of you who is currently on the call to update your names with just put 2 stars. So I know that you are in the room. And when I look at pairing people together, I'll only put people together if they have 2 stars in front of the name. So like this.
Oh, I'm a little, Dana, it's Mal. I'm a little confused. When you say in the room, which room?
In the main room, because so what's happening right now, we have a number of people who are on the Zoom call, but they stepped out from the screen, or they joined on the phone and on the Zoom. So because of that, as far as Zoom is concerned, he doesn't know if I'm sitting in front of the screen or not. So when I'm trying to assign everyone who logged in into these different rooms, that's what happens. The people who stepped away from the computer, they're still being assigned to a room. And so obviously they're not there, they're not joining. Also, if you were logged in from 2 different devices, both of your devices are recognized as the one connection. So now as I'm trying to put people into different places, that's what happens. Like one of you, I think Alexandra had 2 connections open. So basically just mark one of them, the one that you're currently using. So that way I'll see if you have the 2 stars in front of your name, I'll make sure that you have another person with 2 stars in front of your name. And then Kevin, I see that you haven't updated and some other people haven't done that. So basically what I'm asking you to do is to click on your image in the grid right now and go to the second from the bottom option that says rename. So use that to add 2 stars in front of your name, just like what I have right now. I have 2 stars and then Dana.
And Dana, this will mean that the people with 2 stars will be put into a quartet because they were already part of this, and the people who didn't put 2 stars will be, something different will happen?
No, people who are not right now listening to me, or they are stepping away, they will not be having those 2 stars. That's so basically when I'm trying to put people into quartets, I only see names. I don't see the actual faces. So I see names. Like right now, if I look at the screen, there is someone that says Snow. I have no idea if that's Snow, and it's a black screen. So I have no idea if Snow is a person, if it's a connection that was open and then no one is behind that connection anymore. So when I'm assigning people into the breakout room session, that Snow will get assigned to somebody else, right? And then the other person in that group or in a quartet will not see anyone if there is no one there.
So it's basically a way to kind of make sure the person's actually sitting there and listening and not an empty screen.
That's right.
Thank you.
That is correct. That's an indication that you're actually listening, you're there, and I need to be making sure that I'm getting you into groups so you can collaborate. Craig, Put 2 stars.
How do I do that on the phone?
How you do it on the phone? That's a great question. I don't know. I think there is a way. I don't know.
Okay. So I'm here. This is Karen, and I can't put 2 stars.
I
I
put the instructions in the chat, but you tap on participants and then your name, and then you can edit.
Very good. Thank you. The instructions.
So
I did that.
2 stars. Mhm.
Okay.
I know that Igor is here. I can see him watching, and he was with me. There. Yeah.
So again, I will start assigning people together in if I don't see the, okay, so what I'll do right now, because we had all the hiccups with the first rooms, I'm going to recreate all rooms and I'm going to create them. Usually I wouldn't do it. Usually I would put pairs together with the next pair because we had a lot of people who didn't have pairs. I'm going to just recreate all rooms with 4 people in them.
Can you by any chance share your screen so we can see what it looks like when you do this?
I am sharing my screen. You're not seeing those controls because it's only shown to the facilitator. What I will do, I will take a screenshot of those specific options that I'm interacting with, and I'll add them to this slide deck at the end. How about that?
Then a quick time check. We got, I think, 17 more minutes to go.
Okay, cool. So I'm running this, and then we'll switch to the next topic. So. Okay, so I'm going to open up the rooms, recreate all rooms. So some rooms will have 5 people in them because again, we don't have enough people. We have, I actually have a little bit more people than we need for pause. Okay. Okay, so I'm opening up the rooms. So now what I'm asking you to do in those rooms, and you'll end up with other people in the room with other 3 or 4 people. And your ask is to think about those challenges that you were discussing, have a short conversation. It's about 3 minutes conversation, and use the Google Slides to note down those ideas and topics that are coming up for you. And I'm going to post again the slides link in the chat. So go ahead and access that. And I'm going to send you all into breakout room sessions. All right. Make sure you join. And I'll see you in 3.
Hey, Jeff.
Hello.
Hello, guys.
Hi, guys.
All right.
Again.
I mean, one of the challenges I have with the Google, with the Zoom groups is trying to manage the flow of conversation, you know, because the chat box is nice, but it's so easy to lose the thread of conversations within it.
Okay. So we're talking about what? We're talking about challenges with the chat only, or in general with the Zoom.
I think Jeff, if
Yeah.
I'm right, tell me if I'm wrong, but instructions seem to disappear when a lot of people respond very, very quickly.
They
right?
do,
Is
and
that
when-
what you're?
Exactly. And when one person asks a question, you might have other people asking questions simultaneously. And like, is there a way to look for best practices to better manage chat, for people to raise their hands to chat? Just trying to control the whole flow of information to make it a productive interaction. I think the breakout rooms are great because you have smaller groups, but when you're in the full group with 100 people or even 30 people, trying to manage that back and forth with questions for the presenter, questions for the group, it becomes challenging.
Yeah, I think that's where some of the other tools come in, like the Mentimeter that she used and things like that. You know, you kind of have to put those together, I think, to sort of You know, it's part of the design challenge for this because it, you know, it does require design, just like any of your in-person courses.
Exactly.
Dana, hi, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
So is this you guys' first time doing a 1, 2, 4 all? Have you guys done these before?
I haven't. No, this is the first time. I mean, Dana and I are actually part of a group, and we use the Zoom for a networking job search group that we run. So we went from in-person meetings to virtual meetings. We had our first one last week with about 35 participants. It seemed to go very well, including using the breakout rooms. We're doing it again this week. We have a speaker. So
www.liberatingstructures.com. Go there, and there's a book, there's a website, there's an app. It's awesome. They're really, really good ways to help people communicate better and get over humps in their teams.
That sounds great. I will check it out.
Yeah, we're at the needing end of the spectrum at the moment. So I'm sure in 6 months people will be so used to doing everything here that it'll be a lot easier. But
we also ran into the same problem that Dana was having when people sign in via Zoom for the video, but they call in via phone. We sign the breakout rooms. The phone is in one room and the video is in another room. So they can see him but not hear him in one room and hear him but not see him in the other room.
Yeah, it's almost better just if people use their computer and call in. It is better. It's a better experience for people also. It's tough. I'm playing with it, you know, on mobile devices and stuff because I'm trying to figure everything out just like you guys, and it's definitely better on a computer.
Also trying to figure out how to manage the background here.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a feature in Zoom where you can make that, you know, go away.
Yeah, I saw that. It needs to have some contrast so it can know where you end and the background begins. Well, thank you. I'll check that out. Liberatingstructures.com. Thank you.
Gene?
In 14 minutes that I have left, seconds. Yeah, I'm still struggling. I'm wrestling with the idea of minimizing as much as I can different channels and different venues.
Welcome back.
Dana, we're really missing time. But like when I was in one-on-one, I was missing time. Right now, like we were 4, we were missing time. So it's good to add more time into that activity.
So the recommendation is to have 1 minute, 2 minutes, and 4 minutes. I shortened the last one to 3 just because we are running out of time right now. So again, this was not meant to actually go deep into a specific topic. This was meant to show you the tool that you know that you can use to break people into smaller groups, to go deeper in conversation. And even though it feels like it was not enough time, if you look back at the slides, the harvest slides, we still were able, and I'm going to just quickly go through some of them. So, and you can do the same, just scroll through and see what are some of the things that came out.
Dana, one question. I'm sorry about the tool itself. When you have 90 something people, almost 100 people, and you want to follow the structure, like 1 to 4, and you're supposed to put together two pairs that were together before.
Yeah. How
do you do that when you have so many people? You have to do it manually, but
right, you have to do it manually, and you would normally have 2 people, 1 people running the actual class presentation, giving instructions, and the other person putting people together. So having a technical person managing the groups, because
so you just joined. You said this group, these 2 are gonna join this other group, and
yes.
Wow,
yes.
That's a lot of work with
it
100.
Is a lot of work. That's why you need the second person when you're working with the group of this side. Yep.
So when you're setting up the second person, is that where we set up like second person as host?
Yeah, that's when you can set up someone as a co-host. Yep. Right.
Dana, I have a question. Like that liberating structure, usually you should bring maybe the two people that were in the team together into the next breakout, right? So how can we do that? That's like the challenge here, because people are like mixed together. So
Right. So because we had some hiccups with the first pairing, I didn't go with let's pair the same pair with the next pair. But what you would do typically, you would just go breakout room 1, merging with breakout room 2, and then breakout room 3, merging with breakout room 4. So it's putting people from the even into the odd breakouts.
Dana, does the Zoom interface make that easy for the presenter?
Relatively, it's manual. So you have to move people manually. Yeah.
Are there any Zoom trainings that you would recommend or that you put in the chat or send us afterwards as a resource?
What I will ask you at the end, because we also have one more thing we wanted to show you, and I know we're running out of time, but at the end I'll ask you for what would you like to see more, and what questions you have, and how can we help you get better with running these things. And that's one of the questions, that's one of the options that you have. Just let me know what you're looking for, and I'll try to share as much as I can.
Thank you.
But before that, really quickly, and Jean, I know I'm totally stepping on the time that we planned for the second tool, so I apologize for that. Lesson learned from this: everything takes much longer in the virtual space. So if you think you need 30 minutes, plan at least 45 for the same exercise, because it will take longer. But where I want us to switch to is actually going to system modeling with Miro. And the reason why we wanted to show Miro, because what we did just now, it's good for very basic collaboration. Like if you have some kind of brainstorming, you want people to write things together, you want people to maybe dot vote on things, come up with specific idea that they want to go deeper. Now, if you want to go deeper for that purpose, like if you want to generate insights, system modeling might be one of the options that is very relevant. And one of the tools that we looked at for system modeling, or for many other collaboration, is called Miro. And that was the link that Jean posted at the beginning. I'm going to repost it again.
So Dana, just for the benefit of time, since we have literally 6 minutes remaining, and we're going to have to wrap, so we'll take another 2 or 3. Let's not dilute the subject we wanted to present. I mean, you can share it, but we're not going to do any activities there. We need to have a separate session for it. So I guess it's just worth mentioning that as we discussed this far is so there are 2 aspects to collaboration, right? There's a funnel, there's a channel through which people collaborate and how they do it. Groups, large groups, small groups, breakout sessions, and there is the facility. There's a facility that helps them do stuff. So Miro is one of the many platforms or tools. If you actually, it's a tool that you could use. By no means is it being promoted. I have been experimenting with it myself for a very specific reason, for very specific need, for very specific type of facilitation that I need to do. But there are others. And of course, like Dana mentioned, none of us are associated with tools, so I could care one way or the other. Couldn't care one way or the other. But Miro does have a few things that you either already have today, like things like retrospectives, user story mapping, mind mapping, Kanban frameworks. You got them in your electronic tools today. You don't need Miro for that. I specifically like Miro for its ability to, to have people simultaneously design the system. When I say the system, I don't mean digital system. I mean organizational design, and kind of mapping it back to the very nature of this meetup, right? Large scale Scrum is the organizational design framework. So in large scale Scrum, we have a conversation to model the system, so once we have this conversation, the model itself becomes a waste, but what we learn from it is what we retain. So if you, Dana, if you don't mind, we got like 2 minutes I'm gonna spend on, if you go into the system modeling CLD, causal loop diagram, and it's one of the very powerful tools to expose expose system dynamics. That's what I was hoping we could do today, but maybe we'll set up a separate session for it. It helps you on various fronts. To discover problems, to find solutions, to bounce ideas off each other. Although you typically do it on the whiteboard, in front of the whiteboard, a group of people having a conversation. In this situation that we're in today, that everyone has to do things online, this tool seems to be very supportive of what we need to do. It has flexible web controls. It allows you to do things simultaneously. Like for these large boxes, we're not going to use them today, but maybe next time we're going to do it. Literally, you can use Zoom to break out into teams, and each team does their own system model, and then you converge and have a discussion as a group. So anyway, I'm watching the clock consciously. It's 2 minutes before we have to wrap. I'm not sure if you want to do the poll, Dana.
Yeah, I kind of started in the background already. So I just posted the question for everyone in the Zoom chat. What else would you like to see us cover next time? So I know we just touched on Miro, and there is definitely a lot more to uncover here. There are other tools that we're excited about because they're helpful, and we also want to see what are you experimenting with, what would you like us to experiment with together. So just add your ideas into chat. And by the way, if you want to save chat on your local drive, there's 3 dots right next to the to everyone will give you an option. There is a menu that gives you an option to save chat. So I'm going to save it for myself, and I will share that. If you want to have your own local copy, you can do it as well.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say something that probably may anchor people when they answer. Less is more is one of the, banners of large-scale Scrum. So with all of the tools and facilitation techniques out there, try to find a bare minimum that's required to support your needs. In fact, work backwards from your needs to find what you need, because you may have a saga of tools and techniques and channels. Oh my God, we're going into virtual age. What are we going to do? So just be mindful of how much of and what you use and to what extent. Like, use the bare bones. That's my personal view.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to see what's the simplest thing that can possibly work, right? If there is a way to do it with a free tool and you don't need to overcomplicate things, let's do it. So give us more ideas as to what topics you would like to see and what tools you would like us to cover. And thank you very much for joining us.
And there is a meetup channel where you can post your comments or inquiries or requests for something else. And yeah, so you know how to reach out. So that goes without saying. We're gonna try to record. I'm not sure what has been recorded, and if it's high quality enough, we're gonna zap it and post it in the channel. And people may want to replay. We'll see how it came out. We don't know. We had so many things on the screen. So.
And that's experiment. That's why we were doing it as a lab and not as a webinar, because that was not perfect. We failed a couple of times, but we definitely learned together. So thank you for being patient with us, and thank you for experimenting. And I hope every one of you learned at least something. And have a next time.
Dana.
Yes.
A really interesting thing that we have done with 1-2-4 all is when the pairs go into their quartets, is ask the pairs to brief back what the other person told them in the quartets. Mm-hmm. That kind of helps shorten that a little bit too, because someone doesn't get but it also promotes active listening, because now you've got to think about what the other person's saying so that you're going to brief it back.
That's very cool. That's a good idea. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's fine.
All right. Thank you all. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Jean and Dana, this is Mal.
Hi, Mal.
So I just stopped my recording. Do you want me, I mean, Jean, were you also recording?
I tried. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know what happened either. So I'll go offline, I'll look at it, and then I'll shoot you guys an email to tell you what I How's that?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
All right.
I usually put my recording in the YouTube channel, but it depends on the quality too.
Yeah. All right. Take
So
care.
now what you'll see when you will be recording while being in the breakout rooms, you will record your breakout room.
Right.
Yeah.
I can cut that out or leave it in or whatever. It doesn't make any difference. Anyway, but yay. All right. So I'm going to figure out how to get out of here. Hold on. Stop video, plan video, hide self, mute. How about
once you leave meeting, it's going to start.
Oh, it's down here. It's down on the lower right. There it is. Bye, guys.
Bye, Mal.
Bye-bye.
Bye.